Good morning. You're listening to Central Wisconsin's 24-hour information station, AM 1320 WFHR. It's time now for the Morning Magazine, brought to you by Comfort Air Heating, Cooling.
Welcome to Morning Magazine for this February 2nd, 2022. You have your host, James J. Malouf here. And for the entire hour today, we're going to be speaking with the Wood County Sheriff's Department. We'll talk to them in a second. We want to wish a good morning to our friends at Wisconsin Rabbits Community Media. Good morning to Kev and the gang over there. Appreciate you guys being here. So in studio today, we have Sergeant Matt Susa with us. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
And we have Sergeant Ellis. Oh, I always do this to you, man. Would you introduce yourself so I don't mess it up?
Sure. I'm Quentin Ellis. I'm the Chief Deputy with the Wood County Sheriff's Department.
Chief Deputy Quentin Ellis is with us. And man, I got to get that right. I should be fined for that. Is there a fine?
I'm just a guy. Most guys only call me by like one letter. I get called Q my whole life.
I was going to say. Yeah.
That's a whole title and name that's neither here nor there. I'm just a guy.
As a side note, the first time you came in, I almost called you Q. It immediately caught myself like, whoa, but that's good to hear. I appreciate you sharing that, man. Thanks for being here, guys. First up, Matt, how are you doing? How's things been?
Good. Been with the Sheriff's Department for 18 years, so just kind of got a new assignment here with the Sheriff's Department, working the recreational patrols, so things are looking up.
Cool, and looking forward to diving into that with you, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
So, Q, how have things been with you? How are you and yours?
Really good. It's kind of a trip down memory lane. Actually, I was just talking with Pam out there about being in this building because my wife worked in this building when it was still a gas station for her high school job and early college job, many years ago.
Right.
I won't age her by saying that, right? But,
Smart man.
It's kind of funny. It's a nice new place you have here. It's my first time being over on the radio here, and like I said, it was kind of a trip down memory lane, seeing it in its new capacity, and work's good, family's good. It's good to be here.
I was at the gas station the other day. I had this person I've run into a couple of times in the community who I know listens to us, and I'm in a hurry and I'm running out, and she's basically grabbing my shoulder, like pulling me over and everything. And she tells me this breaking news that she had worked in this building and that where our studio is where she spent a lot of her time and everything. So it just could not wait to tell me that. Now, we've had a couple of listeners. That's the first guest we've had, though, say that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
We want to get into a couple of things today, and there's some questions from our listeners that we've had over the past couple of weeks that we'd like to dive into. I think a good place to start is kind of something that Matt was kind of leading into us to. Matt, you mentioned that you have some new duties. Can we kind of touch on some of that?
Sure. So my new duties are focusing on the recreational activities happening here in Wood County. That would include snowmobiling, ATV, UTV, and boating enforcement.
So nothing big. None that we barely do that stuff around here. So you must be bored all the time. No, that seems to me at least that seems not so much intimidating, but that's a lot to cover right there.
Yeah. So the Sheriff's Department has had these programs worked through the Wisconsin DNR for many years. I've done snowmobile patrol for approximately 16 years. So now we're just kind of tying it all together with our ATV, UTV routes opening up throughout our county. It was just a time to be able to have somebody bring it all together.
Are you a snowmobile driver yourself? I am. Okay. I always think it's that helps, It's not a necessity or anything like that, but I don't think that hurts when you have that going into it. You know what you're talking about kind of thing. You know the lingo. You understand what it's like to be on those trails. And you also understand then why these laws are in place and why they are so important. And I know we've touched on this in the past and everything, but I don't feel like we can touch on certain aspects of this enough.
Sure.
And the idea, because I like snowmobile riding too. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that makes me afraid is that I keep seeing that we have, these people took this part of the trail away, or these people did. And then you don't need to do a lot of digging to find out why they did that. And I would say 9.9 times out of 10, it's because somebody was driving on that land or doing something on their land that they should not be doing. Can we kind of go over some of that?
Sure. So in Wood County, we have 7 snowmobile clubs, and these clubs are all volunteer. They're the ones that set up our trail system, not only here in Wood County, but throughout the state of Wisconsin. These clubs volunteer, like I said, all their hours to maintain these trails, to mark the trails, to groom the trails. And so we have to give our hats off to them for allowing us to be able to get out there. And they're the ones that go to the landowners and get us permission to use their land. So it's a privilege for us to be able to do that. It's not a right. So hats off to all the snowmobile clubs out there and all the work that they do to make it possible.
Well said. Now, I know that sometimes the way to really catch people, to make them listen or to make them actually abide by these things, is to find out what it's going to take out of your wallet. What kind of fines can happen from these things?
Sure. So trespassing, all sorts of fines, actually. I mean, there's a whole
I
book
didn't
that
mean
we
to be
could...
too specific.
Right.
Yeah.
But trespassing is a big issue that we deal with every year. Like you said, it shuts down our trail system. And just to make a reroute from a property owner that shut down the trail is a big task to take on.
I was always curious about that part of it. You know, you take this block out. What do you do from there? And that's a lot of work for these guys. That's a lot of work.
Right. That all comes down to the club trying to contact new landowners, trying to make that trail reconnect.
And it's one of these things that it's a problem that it doesn't have to be a problem. It can be, it's self-inflicted.
Right.
This
all preventable.
Yeah. For everything that there is where we just can't, life is entropy, it's chaos that we can't control. There are things like this where we can actually do something about it. Just don't be a knucklehead. As simple as that.
Exactly.
And then Matt can have a little more free time, right. And maybe be out on these trails. Are there things when it comes to this subject, when it comes to the work that you do, that maybe aren't talked about as much, that are issues, or even just things that you think would be good for people to know?
So a couple major things, and one we just talked about is the trespassing. Mm-hmm. Again, it's a couple $100. Yeah. And then your registration and your trail pass. The trail passes came into play here a couple years ago. That money that is spent for the trail passes goes back to our snowmobile clubs for the maintenance of our trails. So being a club member and making sure that you're paying for those trail passes are big.
And you can lose your license too when it comes to this, right? Or lose the ability to do this, or is that an option?
That's not really an option here because you don't need a driver's license or anything that to operate a snowmobile. You might be kicked out of a club per se, but
and so there, that's more where I wanted to go with that is. I know the freedom of being able to ride the trails is such a huge part of the draw to be able to do this. Mm-hmm. You start limiting where you can go, and you're out of this group, and this group won't have you, and that. All of a sudden, you're just basically in your backyard going in circles on your snowmobile.
Right.
So that is a key part of this, too.
Yep, absolutely.
I appreciate all that, Matt. Is there anything you wanted to touch on we didn't get a chance to? Or?
A lot of the rules out on the trails are similar to those on the road. Then we have stop signs and speeding violations that we're out enforcing. We tend to go out on special events that we know are going on throughout our community. Anytime that we have a great volume of snow and are able to go out and enforce these laws, we're out there. It is for more of an educational purpose to make sure that everybody is abiding by, the rules set by the Wisconsin DNR.
You mentioned that this is a new job for you. What were you doing previously?
So previously, I have just been reassigned. I'm still a patrol sergeant is my title. Okay. I was working the road a couple days a week. So now I'm just more focused on the recreational aspect of the department.
Gotcha. Okay. And we know that we have listeners all over the area. I saw recently the Adams County Sheriff's Office is hosting a snowmobile safety course on February 6th. So that just as long as we got the topic in here, if listeners out that way, keep that in mind. And certainly reach out to our Wood County Sheriff's Department if you have questions about those things. The best answer, or the best way to get an answer, is just ask.
Absolutely.
Wanted to get into this, and I wanted to put you on the spot, Q, with this one. When it comes to funeral laws, we had a listener call in yesterday and over the back fence about this, but I've actually had two different listeners over the years ask about this question. I think the more rural a city is, or the more remote it is, the more that you come into this kind of issue where most of us have seen a funeral procession by now, and it's usually 4 to 10 to whatever cars long. And oftentimes you will have somebody like yourselves in patrolling in front and back of these things, but that doesn't always the case. And one of our listeners yesterday mentioned that they were in a funeral procession and somebody tried to pass them. I'm not sure if they did or not. I will say, it sounds like in that case they did not have any law enforcement in like in the front and back,
Right.
because I know that there are. You guys know better than I do how many knuckleheads there are out there. I can't imagine trying to pass a funeral session when I know that there is a police car right in the front of it. It just feels like even that person got to realize. But let's say that even that was the case. This is against the law. This is I don't, I want you to talk on this, Carson, but it is something that people, I don't think it's common knowledge.
Right. Funeral processions in the state of Wisconsin actually have a statutory, I guess, right or given right of way within the statutes themselves. Just as law enforcement with their lights and sirens activated are requesting the right of way. Funeral processions are much the same. The biggest thing is they want things to stay safe, and the funeral procession laws, I would have to imagine, are implemented so that when you do have those 12 to 15, maybe 20 cars in a row, that they can all pay their respects and get through safely. You're not getting broken up by stops at a four-way stop or red lights or yield signs or any other traffic controls in the way. That being said, statutes are on paper. We need people to practice what is safe. It boils down to common sense, James, like you said before. I'll quote you because then they can't say I said it. Don't be a knucklehead. You see that funeral procession? They should all be, most of them are the funeral homes in our area are very good at coordinating these. They have, even if they don't have law enforcement leading the procession, they generally have either a car from the funeral home, in front of the hearse or immediately behind it. They're flagged. Everybody in the procession should have their lights on. A lot of times they'll mark the cars with magnet flags so that everybody can see. It's another visible reminder that they're part of this procession. And then people just need to pay their respects. Let them get through. What's urgent to you right now maybe doesn't line up to what that family's going through there. And they have statutory protection to give them that right of way through intersections and to get to the cemetery safely. So again, it boils down to using your head. You see that procession, yield the right of way. If they don't have a squad there, they still are entitled to the same rights without us there or not. And on a side note, you'd say you wouldn't think they'd do it with a squad there. I can tell you I've been passed in a fully marked squad car by somebody speeding on a 2-lane highway trying to get somewhere. Yeah, so we need everybody to play their part. The statutes are there to remind people that to use common sense. Because if you interrupt a funeral procession, we get a complaint about it. We're going to take it seriously.
Yeah, and I mean, treat others the way you would want to. If it was you and your family in that moment driving, you'd want people to have some respect. And I'm sorry, I'm a little daunted by that happening to you. I can't.
I actually had to laugh. It was many years ago, but it's we have these little anecdotal stories and things that happened to us over the years. I'll never forget. I was coming home from a night shift in Marshfield. It's like 6:30 in the morning. I'd worked all night. I'm traveling home on 13, and I'll say I was at or near the posted speed limit because I would have to be, right. And so guy in a pickup truck just bails out and passes me. We're both heading on Highway 13. I'm not in an unmarked vehicle. I'm in at the time, a fully marked Crown Victoria. And he blows by me going 70 plus. And
wow.
I turned on the lights. I had to laugh.
Yeah,
I mean, you would think you'd be upset. I had to laugh and got up to the window, and he just hangs his head. Normally you have I'm Ellis, I'm with the sheriff's department. I stopped you for, and I said, "Not your brightest move, huh?" And he's just like, "No, I can't believe it. I was zoned out." But super apologetic. But like we talked about letter and intent of the law. Did he earn a ticket there? Absolutely. Did I think it needed to correct the situation? No, I don't think that would ever happen again. As embarrassed as he was, so we got a good laugh about it. Nobody was put in any danger. I said, "Now you're going to stay behind me the rest of the way here." And but funny things we come across.
Thank you so much for sharing that, man. Especially, I'm laughing at that, not just for us and our audience, but what you said before that, about how you guys share stories from time to time. I can't imagine what you deal with day in and day out. Mm-hmm. And if you have moments like that, the light moments, that's so good to hear. You don't have enough of them. I know that much. That's cool. That's a good one. And what?
Yeah.
There's got to be those moments where you're just kind of sitting there, like, What?
Yeah, is this really happening? Yep, that just did. So,
is there other things as far as when it comes to funeral processions that I think that because we're so used to them in society, we feel like we understand the laws already. It's almost a gentleman's agreement kind of thing where we understand that this and this, but there are, as you touched on, actual physical laws in place for this. And is there, like, as far as the procession itself, is there so many vehicles that can be a part of a procession? Is that a rule? Is there?
I'll be honest with you. You're talking to a guy that hasn't worked patrol in
Sure.
10 plus years. I do get out there from time to time if the call's big enough and whatnot. I would say the best course of action, if people have the specific questions, is contact the sheriff's department. They can call me direct and I will find the answer. It's written out in statute, and the internet's a powerful thing now.
Yeah.
If you Google Wisconsin funeral procession law, it will pop up and it's all right there for you. So if people have questions, I would encourage them to review the statute and then maybe take those informed questions. Then you can call the sheriff's department or your local police department and say, I read this and I don't understand this about it.
Yeah.
That way we can give you a real direct answer to that question.
And as far as the people following them, I would think, I'm sure that the laws might have something more specific, but certainly the normal, what you would normally do if you're driving behind anybody,
especially their space,
yeah. And that kind of leads us into winter driving. And I wanted to touch on this a little bit. Just kind of, again, I understand that 99% or 90-some% of Wisconsinites know these things. You were raised in this area, you know this stuff. Never hurts to go over it again. All you got to do is look at the people who have been busted or caught or whatever, and see that it's not common. That these things still happen as far as passing snowmobile or passing plows and that sort of thing. Just kind of going over some of that stuff.
Sure. Every year, it's worth reminding because you said the behaviors unfortunately don't change that much. If we get our first snowfall in a while, we're chasing cars in the ditch all morning. We're getting complaints from the snowplow drivers. So really, it boils down to slow down, give yourself the extra time, get your lights on, make sure you're visible. Have your car in good working order, have your tires checked for winter, all the mechanical stuff you need. Give the plows distance to work. That's another thing that floors me is I've seen people go out and pass plows when I was in my personal vehicle and I'm going, hey, they're going a little slower than I am, but I'm behind the plow. Like, I have this made. Life is good.
Yep.
They're clearing the exact path I'm taking. So people just need to slow down, get to where they're going safely. Give yourself extra time when you're headed somewhere. If it takes you 11 minutes to get to work and you know that, you stop at X gas station and get your cup of coffee within that 11 minutes. Give yourself some extra time. I feel like a broken record with this. I have two young drivers at home.
Yeah, okay,
So my daughter's a senior in high school. My son's a sophomore, just learning. And it's, slow down. The road might be slippery. And they're, yeah, Dad.
Yeah.
So, but it can sneak up on you real easily. Road that looks like it's clean could have some black ice on it coming up to a stop sign. Just give yourself that extra time and distance. Be mindful of the snow plows and other vehicles out there.
I think I know that there was a spot in our old building when it would come this time of year. I knew, okay, when I take this corner, got to slow down a little bit. I invested in my Jeep this past summer and got 4 new tires on there. I've got a bunch of different stuff. Still taking my time on those corners. I don't pretend to trust, or I know black ice well enough to know I can't trust it. Mm-hmm. And I think that, again, it's common. I'm used to this. I've been driving to this, that old building. 7-8 years I've been taking the same route and going there. Then there's this one morning I'm running late, and I'm not used to running late. So I'm panicked and I'm in a hurry and everything. And I get to that spot, and it's right as I'm taking the turn that I realize I'm going about 10 miles. I was going about 5 or 6 miles faster than I normally do. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, spun around, and I've got brand new tires. I know I've got 4-wheel drive. I know how to drive on these roads. I know what I'm doing, and I'm in the moment. I'm caught up, and I'm thinking. I'm not thinking is what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And I got lucky that all I did was just do a little spin move that nobody happened to see, and felt embarrassed for a moment and straightened out and got here and got to work. And I was perfectly fine. We didn't get on the air late or anything like that, but I don't want it to sound like I'm preaching at people. I'm just as guilty of these things and need to do it just as much. I think we all do. If you're open about that, with yourself, you'll be a better driver. You'll be more inclined and more in tune with that on the road. I don't think anybody wants to hurt anybody else. And if you're not going to do this for yourself, do it for your fellow drivers. I've heard a lot of people talk about defensive driving. I think of offensive driving. I think of thinking of others first, and when you're driving and paying attention to those other vehicles. More times than not, that's your best defense, is playing some offense, is being aware of the road, being aware of what's going on. I would like to think we don't have to say it, but for those that don't do this, for me, I have a spot that I set my phone and it stays there. Whether I'm in the car for 5 minutes or 5 hours, that phone does not move. My mom could be calling me, and trust me, there's no phone call in the world that I got to take more than my mother.
Right.
But I ain't going to answer it. I just choose not to. There's nothing, wherever I'm going, I know, okay, I'm going to be there in about 5 or 10 minutes. I'll check it then. If it's groundbreaking news that I have to get, 5 minutes is probably not going to make a huge difference.
Right. That's an excellent point. We see that whether the roads are great or not so great, the number of people I see utilizing technology while they're driving it used to be kind of subtle. You'd see someone check their phone, maybe finish a text at a stoplight. But I tell you, the number of people I see just face buried in the phone as they're going down A Street, it's alarming. You try and get to the ones you can and stop them to bring it to their attention. And sometimes traffic flows and things like that make it actually would be more unsafe for us to try and turn around and do that. But yeah, if people just put the technology away, they make hands-free everything now that you shouldn't have to really look at much. Cars read you text messages now.
Yeah.
But yeah, while you're driving, we'd ask that you focus on that so you get there safely and you can have a good time wherever you get to.
And it's, again, one of these things that we're not necessarily pointing our finger and yelling at you or talking that way. It's more like, look, we get it. We're so attached to our phones nowadays. And even the most untechnological person is still checking their email or something like that. And driving is kind of routine. Especially if you've taken the same route a million times. So your mind tends to wander and you want to look at other things. Hang in there, make it through the drive. You're going to be able to check that, sports score as soon as you get there.
Right.
It's not going to, maybe it'll change a little bit, but it's not going to change that much. Everything is about a kind of a patience game when you're behind the wheel, whether it is paying attention to the other drivers, whether it is your phone or just getting to your destination on, the time that you want. Have a little patience.
Which is tough because we're a very, as a society now, we want it now. All the information thing you said, the sports scores. I'm actually trembling here. I have 2 phones under here that I haven't touched in probably 5 minutes tops. But while we're driving, we got to put that away and focus on the task at hand.
Every day I go through this in the first block of my day. It's not usually till around noon, 1 o'clock that I actually check my phone and can email people back or text people back or anything. It's a nightmare. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if my team made a new addition or if they may sign this one guy that I wanted them to. I want to be able to do that too. Got a job to do. Yep. You have some patience. Just take a breath. That stuff is going to be there. It's not going anywhere. So whether you are doing a silly morning show like I do, or you're driving somewhere, that information ain't going anywhere. If there is one advantage to nowadays, back when we were kids especially, how often this might happen where your favorite TV show you're watching, you run to the bathroom during commercial break and you come back and you miss like 2 or 3 minutes and that's gone. You're never seeing that again. Right. I mean, maybe in summer reruns you might get to see it, but no, who's watching summer reruns?
Right.
Nowadays, you don't miss anything. Like if you miss something, you intentionally have to almost try to miss it. And there's so many opportunities to catch things, to get information, resources to get that stuff. It's going to be there. Take your time.
Right.
And look out for each other out there. I think that's a big part, too, is being able to look out for one another. Why don't we take a break here? Because when we come back, it's big information we want to dive into. And
Sure.
We could actually use the audience maybe on this one.
Yeah.
So we will do that when we come back with our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media and the Wood County Sheriff's Department on Morning Magazine. Welcome back, everyone, to Morning Magazine for this February 2nd, 2022. We have our friends from the Wood County Sheriff's Department and with us, along with our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. And thank you to all of you for being in studio today. Appreciate it. Q, I want to get into the recent drug bust with you. When the last time the Sheriff's Department was with us, we touched on this a little bit, but weren't able to get too in detail with it.
Yeah, so it was throughout December, we had 2 major arrests made with relation to drugs. Our hats really go off to our investigative team and the work they've put in. One was on December 9th. There was a joint drug investigation by our department, Department of Justice, DCI, and the Central Wisconsin Drug Task Force. We executed a search warrant and were able to seize 120 grams of fentanyl, like 315 grams of cocaine, a bunch of pills of ecstasy, and some marijuana. Those hold an approximate street value of $130,000 to $140,000. And we're also able to seize $16,000 in cash from the people profiting from selling these illegal drugs. And if you think that that's pretty impactful, the minimal amount of fentanyl it can take someone to overdose and die. And our investigation was able to take 120 grams of that off the street. Mm-hmm. So that literally saves lives in central Wisconsin. So very proud of our staff for doing that, working so closely with DCI. And it's not just them, a lot of times there's other services involved, that resources used from the department, whether it be patrol helping out to gather information or a tactical team making an entry or securing people and make sure things are done safely. It's a whole department win in that category. People are taken into custody and held accountable for that, and then hopefully that interrupts some flow of that to the area.
It's such a chess game. Doing these investigations, doing the work that it takes to build in up to the arrest itself, making sure every box is checked, mm-hmm. And then the aftermath of that, and making sure that these things are people are held accountable and all that. But then when you add on to the factor of an overdose, and I remember not that it was that long ago, but I can remember Sheriff his mood changing when he talked about that part of it. Yeah. Certainly because it impacts him, it touches him, even if you knew that person or not, it affects him. And I appreciate that empathy out of him and you guys so much. But I think one of the things that also I remember about that moment is if I get one of you guys to talk about yourselves, you're going to do the same thing. You all do. And I do it too. Mm-hmm. You look down and you thank you very much and all that. But if I get you to talk about one of your others, your chest puffed up and my guy here, he is so good. He does this and this. And that's Sheriff Becker to a T.
Absolutely.
And when he's talking about this investigation and within 24 hours, having said information about that overdose and that, like the pride in that, it's a great moment and it's cool to see, but it's also so important that we talk about these things. So hopefully we have less of these things happen and we don't lose another young person like this.
Yeah. In an unrelated investigation, just 12 days later on the north end of our county, a 22-year-old female overdosed. And as Sheriff Becker spoke to that, within 24 hours, we were able to conduct multiple search warrants, identify the person that provided her these substances, and take a 26-year-old male into custody for it's a homicide charge for providing the substances to this female that lost her life to drugs. That is impactful on our department because a number of times we only see the aftermath. We maybe don't know that person's using or where they're getting their stuff from. And in this case, we were able to, again, it doesn't bring her back. That doesn't make her family whole. And we understand that. But there is an amount of pride that our investigative team, they work their tails off. Around Christmas time, a lot of people are winding down, they have vacation time to use and thinking of the holidays, and these guys and gals are out there kicking butt to try and get some answers on this. So they were able to, again, identify a suspect and take him into custody within 24 hours. Again, our condolences to the family. This doesn't make them whole, but it is something to be proud of. Our staff, their hard work, bringing this person, so that they can face the courts and be brought to justice. And again, you see the impact it has not only on, say, our staff, but first responders or other people that have had to deal with this tragic loss, because it does take a toll. Whether it be the first responders that are there to render aid and they can't save this person, or it might be an officer's first call, first experience with somebody that they can't help, or somebody that has passed. They have real people impacts as well. And so that is part of our department's pride when we're able to step up and get the job done on those, because unfortunately there are some where we work equally as hard, but you're not able to develop that. So
I think it's one of the, and it seems like at least one of the tougher parts of the job, but one of the necessary parts of the job of being able to have to do two things at once. Condoling and feeling for that family and the tenseness of that, while also being able to do your job and then take some pride in said job, which every human being on the planet, should be able to do, because the stakes are what they are. It's so. I take my job more seriously than I probably should, and I respect our audience, so I want to do a great job every day. I mess up somebody's name. I don't hit a commercial break on time. Things keep rolling. We're going to be okay. The station's not going to fall apart or anything like that. What you guys are doing on it, when I talk about that chess game, one move the wrong way and game over. It's a whole different ballgame, and I think it's something that a lot of us, we do this all the time where we equivalate things. We equivalate our lives to others, and it's a part of empathy, and it's human nature to do. There is no equivalent to what you guys do unless you are doing said work. I think it's important for us citizens to understand that and take that into consideration when you're talking about these things, and to be able to do both ourselves. Have condolences for this family, feel for that family, while at the same time taking some pride in our sheriff's department that you guys were able to get the job done. Because it does, like you said, does not happen all the time.
Right.
Life is not a Law and Order episode where they just wrap everything up in 58 minutes for you and you get the bad guy at the end.
Right.
It very seldom is like that. So when we do have that happen, that's a win for our community, not just you guys. We all win on that one. And I think when it comes, you mentioned some of the I always appreciate that you guys mention what is seized, because I will say this, coming from my background, and it's no secret my background, I've been very honest about that, my family, and we come from the other side of the tracks, and we were knuckleheads ourselves at one time and everything. I know for a fact that all sides of the tracks hear that and think the same thing. Those are lives that we just saved.
Right.
And so that's a win again for everybody. And I think that when we're talking about we've been talking about this for way too long now, but the opioid epidemic, we have recent news that these people have been paying dues and, are shelling out some money about this. We all know that the problem is still there.
Right.
That hasn't been fixed. I think that some people might see those headlines and think that that's done, and it is not. So when you see something, say something.
Absolutely.
It's important. I know I wanted to touch on this too as well with you, that the Wood County Sheriff's Department is seeking information in a Port Edward shooting.
Yes, we are currently actively investigating an incident where a small caliber rifle round was fired into a residence, and it actually struck an occupant in the residence and did cause an injury. We have one incident of it in Wood County. Juneau County is investigating similar incidents. And so we're just asking anybody with surveillance cameras or anything that seemed out of the norm in the southern part of Wood County, northern part of Juneau County to call. If you're hearing somebody talking about it, maybe it was not intended to be that. Maybe it was something other intent that was just ill-advised and terribly reckless. You hear people talking about it, give us a call. If you want to remain anonymous, you can call our Crime Stoppers or call dispatch, remain anonymous, or use the P3 app. It's downloadable. It routes with our Crime Stoppers, and you remain anonymous and even eligible for a cash reward if it leads to an arrest.
Good to know. And thank you for sharing that. And individuals with information can contact Wood County Sheriff's Department at 715-421-8700 or Wood County Crime Stoppers. And keep in mind, the Wood County Crime Stoppers has a new app to help solve and report crime in your community. You can download that at your whatever app stores you use and that. We will take a quick commercial break here. We'll get that done. And we'll come back and we'll have some more fun with our friends at the Wood County Sheriff's Department, getting some more information with them on Morning Magazine, AM 1320, WFHR, 97.5 FM, WFHR.
It's time for part 2.
Welcome back, everyone, to Morning Magazine, Part 2 for this February 2nd, 2022. It is 10:45 on the clock, and you have your host, James, here. We are joined by our friends at the Wood County Sheriff's Department. Chief Deputy Quentin Ellis being with us. Thank you for being here, sir. And we have Sergeant Matt Susa with us as well, along with our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. Good morning to Kevin, the gang over there. I just wanted to touch on this real quick, and it's not necessarily something that you guys, it's really your department, but there's been quite a few house fires that I've seen in the last couple of months. It seems like more than average for winter. Maybe it's just I'm noticing them more. Maybe it's statistically there are more. But it is an opportunity right now. Again, I know you're not the fire department guys. I'm not trying to put you on the spot with this, but I do think it's something noteworthy. And it's something that can be, again, these self-inflicted kind of things.
Absolutely. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, or it doesn't ring a bell comparatively from year to year, but I do know that as the temperature dips, we will see an increase in house fires. A lot of times people are stoking up that fireplace a little hotter because it's colder inside and the chimney isn't cleaned. We get a lot of chimney fires that way. Or people are trying to heat in ways that aren't advisable. Multiple space heaters, extension cords, underrated cords. Some people trying to heat using other means, stuff that's not meant to be indoors.
Right.
And unfortunately, that can lead to loss of property and even worse, loss of life or injury. So, use things for their intended purposes. If you're having struggles with energy, you can contact Human Services. They have links or emergency management to get you in touch with some resources. I know just last week, 2 weeks ago, we got a call. Somebody needed help. They were out of firewood, and that's how they heated everything. And we were able to work with emergency management and Human Services to get these people some wood so that they'd be able to stay warm and safe. So again, it's just be mindful of your environment. Don't load up 19 space heaters on a surge strip and let her rip.
It seems to be the one more times than not to do it too is the space, or not just the space, the extension cord and the overdoing it on those things. And nowadays there's a lot of them. In fact, I think almost there's a law now that they have to like self turn off or whatever.
Sure.
But we all got those old ones. I got one. I mean, a lot of people have those ones. Just not overpowering those things.
Right.
I know this is one of those ones that's hits close to home for me. My family had a horrible fire happen and everything, and it was right around this time of year. And it's just one of those things you don't wish on anybody.
Right.
So keeping an eye on that stuff is never a bad idea. I know having you guys in, it kind of gives us a little chance to shoehorn that in there a little bit. Thank you for that. I didn't want to start asking you a bunch of fire questions. Also, like, I got nothing, James. What are you talking about?
We'd have to start teasing the firemen because they give it back to us too. So,
I did want to take a second to talk about the Polar Plunge.
Sure. Matt, are you plunging?
I am not plunging this year.
Okay.
I'm not either.
Right.
But I do want to say it's an excellent event coming up this weekend at the Ridges. Raises money for Special Olympics. The Sheriff's Department does have a team. He doesn't take as much credit as he deserves, but Shawn leads the team, plunges all the time, and he holds the Special Olympics very near and dear to his heart. So we do have 5 staff members that are plunging. It is he, Terry Johnson, Tina Sigilski. Oh, I had them written down here, James. I'm losing them.
Oh, they'll
Adam Berry, Thomas King. They're raising money for the Polar Plunge. So if you're like me and you don't want to go freeze, I believe in the cause. I'll donate to all of them, any of them, but you're not going to see me getting in the water. We would ask people to check out the Polar Plunge for Wisconsin Rapids. There's a website. If you search Special Olympics Polar Plunge, you can see the link. Donate to a great cause. Come out, spectate. I know the schools are involved. My kids and their friends are raising money for the cause as well. We may or may not have a competition with Wisconsin Rapids Police Department over said teams plunging. You may notice some banter back and forth on Facebook about that. All in good fun.
Yeah.
There are our brothers and sisters over there at Rapids PD, but they put a team in a lot to it. It's all for a great cause, and I would encourage people, if they're looking for something to do, come check it out. If you're looking a way to contribute, to give back, that's certainly an excellent cause.
They're some of the greatest and nicest, most genuine people you'll ever work with. They're the Special Olympics people. And it's one of these great win-wins for us as a community where we get to champion them and champion our police and our sheriff's departments and different organizations that are a part of these events, that champion these events along with us.
Yeah. If you've ever had the opportunity to meet Cole Cleworth, excellent guy. And I'm sure he's going to be a top fundraiser. He goes all out for these events for Special Olympics. And he's very special to our department. Yeah. I know Shawn keeps an eye on him. He's gone to things with us for like Men in the Kitchen. He was a guest chef for us for a fundraiser for the Family Center, and I know he's always very active in this. So, got to give him a shout out. And if you're looking for somebody, if it can't be the sheriff's department page, then he might be a guy. So.
Not a bad option.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can find out more by going to polarplungewi.org. That's polarplungewi.org. There you can enter a location and get little specifics about your area's location for this and be a part of it, sponsor, support these great people and what they're doing, and get ready to watch some fun, because that is going to be a fun event too.
Yes, it is.
You mentioned something there, Q, that I wanted to. I've kind of wanted to touch on this with you guys before, and just has never really had time. Especially, you guys know, Shawn comes in here. He's got 100 pieces of paper. He's got something to talk about and I always want to make sure. Okay, well, we got to get to this, and this. One of the things that I think that I've been encouraged by about our community, our society in general, is certainly, we've all seen news and stories of this divide between community and law enforcement and that, and the work that has been done by law enforcement to take the initiative to build that bridge stronger. I think that it's one of those things where, just speaking for myself, I feel like we as a community should meet you halfway on this, but it hasn't been asked. It's been more, we're doing this. We're going to do this. We're not waiting for you guys to meet us halfway. We're going to do this. One of the greatest ways that's been done is with social media. And I work in media. My job is to sell myself, sell my station, all these things. Learning the new waves of all the different apps and all the different ways of social media. I'm still wrapping my mind around some of this. I maintain that out of all the people I know in this industry, nobody does social media better than your local police or sheriff's departments. They're just killing it, just doing an amazing job. It's awesome. We've all heard stories now around the country of different, this video goes viral, and it's a police officer playing some hoops with a couple of local kids or something like that. So I have to ask you guys, and this is just between us, don't worry, it's just between us. Who is your marketing team? Who is behind this? I want to work with them now.
No. Sheriff Becker actually was very, very big on getting our Facebook page started years ago, and I will fully admit we were at a training about administrators and using social media. He's like, we got to do this. And I'm going, Shawn, no, we're not doing it. No. And he's like, oh, we got to. And so kudos to him. Got it going. And really, we've just run with it as a team. We have a number of people that contribute content. But as with anything you've heard Shawn talk about with our department, we're a team. We're a team, we're a family. So we all kind of have the same vision, and that makes it easier, is we want to control a positive message. There's so much negativity going on out there, and, every contact we have with the community can't be all sunshines and rainbows, because sometimes there are enforcement actions and things taken. But we are people too, and we're trying to show that our personal side of things and put that positive vibe out there, positive information about the department, the things we're doing. We really try to highlight our staff so that people know that they don't just see this uniform, they see Matt and what Matt's about.
Right.
And I think that's helpful. And when you say the community has to meet us halfway, around here, I think we're very fortunate that they do. There's some people that aren't happy with anything we do, and you'll see that on our Facebook. There's a few people that they aren't happy no matter what, and you're not going to win those people over per se. But the community as a whole really seems to be on board with us. We don't seem to suffer some of the animosity or divide that you see in national news. So we're very fortunate. We're blessed to serve the community we do.
It's funny. We're going to watch the Super Bowl this year, and you're going to see during the commercial breaks, these marketing teams and these groups of people that spend literally millions of dollars to come up with the perfect Super Bowl ad, and we're going to watch it and be like,
right.
Whatever, that was all right. here we have, and it's not just our local sheriff and police department in our Wood County area here. It's around the whole country. You're seeing this where people are with no budget, no marketing specialist or this guy who went to 6 years of school to do this or whatever. You guys just doing this. I think that is such a beautiful part of it too, because it's so organic, so real, so natural. I think if you did have the greatest marketing team in the world tell you what video to make, it just wouldn't be the same.
Right.
I think that genuineness comes across too.
Well, that's good. That's probably why we're still on Facebook and not like Instagram and TikTok and whatever the kids are using these days. I see my kids' phone. I don't know.
Wait 5 minutes and there's a new one.
Yeah. And I used to feel like I was in tune to these things, but no, we really do enjoy it. And along those lines, it's been a blast having Matt here. We've worked together our whole careers. I started in 2002. He came on in 2004. So we're similarly aged. He's a little younger than me though. Both went to Lincoln High School, so it's been fun. Our careers have come up together. We spent a lot of time together in squad cars at calls and on night shift, and we've had some good careers. So it's good to have him in his new role, getting to see him more often and do things like this. I give him credit when we put together this new duty assignment. He jumped in, eyes wide open, ready to take on the task, and he's the right guy for it. So.
Well said. That was something I did want to ask you, Matt. What was it about this that you jumped in all both feet jumping right into this when it came to being willing to do that? Why were you willing to do that?
Sure. I'm a big fan of recreational sports. I own a UTV and snowmobiles and boats, so I'm out there on my normal time, my own time. And early on in my law enforcement career, I took on the obligation of helping out with the snowmobile patrol. So I've been doing that for a number of years already. I ran this program once before, so I was able to have a good understanding of what it takes to run it the right way. So with all the resources that are out there, with all these different snowmobile clubs and ATV clubs, and working with the Department of Natural Resources, it just felt like the right fit for me.
And thanks for sharing that. And as we kind of making this full circle here, when we first originally were talking at the beginning of the hour and we're getting to know you a little bit, you were telling us that you drive, and as you mentioned there, you're recreational. You love all these sports, love being out there and doing this. It just speaks to, again, what Q was saying before about you guys are just like the rest of us. You're citizens, and we need to treat you that way. Get better about that. If there's one thing I want to do in this job, it's to do that with you guys, with our representatives. Get better about that. I want to get information out there. I want to cover and make sure that we do what we're supposed to do on the air here. Personally, one of my biggest goals is to do that, to show that as much as we can, so that when the next generation is coming up, their relationship with law enforcement is better. The next generation, it's better and better going forward. I don't know about you guys. I love Westerns. I love watching Westerns. I don't want to live in a Western.
Right.
I like having law enforcement. I like having accountability. These are good things. Thankfully, we have kind of gotten past the narrative, except for people that want to make it look good for them. The idea of getting rid of it or anything, but it's not to me about that. The idea of getting rid of or adding to or whatever when it comes to law enforcement, that's for bigger heads. That's for other people. What I'm concerned is, what are we doing with what we have? Right. How are we taking care of the people that are currently doing these jobs? And making it not only safe for you guys, but that makes it in turn safer for us.
Right.
And so getting this crazy idea wrapped around our heads here that we're all connected. It's true. What affects you guys is going to affect us. And when you guys are hurting, we should be hurting, and vice versa, because you are. You don't put that badge on for the money.
Right.
I don't believe, I don't have the stats in front of me, but any police officer or sheriff or anybody in any type of standard like that has ever been like, yeah, I want to be a Rockefeller. I want to make it. I want to roll in the dough here. I think I'm going to get into law enforcement. Nobody does that. It's the same thing with radio. We do these jobs because we are passionate, because we care about our community, we care about people, and we want it's bigger than us. Mm-hmm. I think the least we can do is kind of help meet you guys there with that, and treating you guys that way, and seeing you guys as just regular citizens.
And from my side of the desk here, James, I think you guys do an excellent job of that. I really do. You guys are Carl was a great advocate of ours. You picked up that torch and kept running with it. We enjoy coming to do these shows for that reason.
Good.
We really do.
That means a lot to hear.
It's like a community partnership, and it just makes a lot of fun. So we appreciate you for that.
I do got. Thanks for saying that, Q. I do want to say real quickly. I'm saying to treat you guys like regular citizens and everything. However, that doesn't mean to try to pass you like the story
Right.
you told us earlier. Then you might want to recognize that that's a police officer
Right.
or a sheriff or something.
Good point.
We appreciate the time so much, guys. Thanks a lot for hanging out with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay safe and strong out there, and we will talk with you again real soon. Big thank you to our friends at Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. Now I can say Kev's name. Kev and the gang over there. We appreciate you guys very much. Thanks for being here. We'll have more Morning Magazine for you tomorrow right here on WFHR 97.5 FM, 1320 AM. We are locally grown radio.